you today?
Good.
Wonderful.
Good.
Never change.
Believe that? I'll tell you another story.
What was that?
If you believe that, I'll tell you another story. How are you today?
Good, pretty good.
All right, get this back up on the screen. You're on, Mr. Chair. I don't know if you need anything else from me. I'm sitting over here.
I'll call the Lincolnville Appeals Board meeting to order. Time is 11 o'clock on January 30th, 2024. We're to review and act on notice of administrative appeals decision for the vote appeals application. And we have, everybody should have the notice of administration appeal decision that was written by the town attorney. And has everybody reviewed everything in this, or do we do this line by line?
Maybe a bit. I'm not interested in reading it line by line. I will do it.
Okay.
Alexa, off.
What's that, Barbara? You say something? Sounds like you said something, so I paused to see if you had something to throw in.
I'm not sure if she can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear the group, Barbara?
I can. I didn't know he was talking to me.
Oh,
Yeah, it sounded like you had said something, so I was pausing to see if you had something to add.
No, I'm turning down the background noise here so I can hear.
I think the substance, looking through it, everything that was in there, both the appellant's statements, we get Butler, citing that it was a minor change to the commercial site plan review and not meeting of all of the notices. I think it encapsulates everything we did. Everybody's had a chance to read it. Entertain a motion to accept as written.
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, so Betty has made the motion, Terry has seconded. All those in favor of accepting? Looks like that's a 5-0. Okay.
I move that you sign the signature.
I have a pencil.
well, I'll go get an official one. I wanted to get it.
Oh, we have an official pen or an official?
No, an
paper?
official one on the letterhead that doesn't say draft on it, but I wanted to make sure you reviewed it before we printed it off. And I'll go do that while you do your other item, or if you have other items, or.
Okay. Discussion on possible recommendation to select board regarding land use ordinance amendment concerning notice for commercial site plan applications and or building permits.
Excellent idea.
Yes, I think that's popped up in one of our bills, so I think that should be addressed, where the town is actually responsible for notifying others.
Yeah, the way it's written now is that any minor changes, I think it was 4,000 square feet, but they did a major change.
Yep.
I don't know if it was somehow the town or, I had brought up, this the second time that somebody has said that they have asked the code enforcement officer for more information, and then no phone calls ever came afterwards. And I'm not blaming Frank or saying anything negative towards Frank, but it just seems to show some kind of a gap where some people do want more information, and somehow they fall through
Some
the cracks.
documentation, definitely, no.
Whether it's full notice to everybody on the list or to somebody who's called up asking for more information. I don't know what that methodology would look like, short of
I think that's
everybody getting
probably
notice.
out of the scope of this, as far as phone calls, would be out of the scope of what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something we can mention as a board to David, to see if there's anything that can be done by the town. But as far as an ordinance change goes, maybe just looking at, I think, changing this so that any anywhere where there's notifications required by the applicant, that we change to the town sending those notices.
The first one we had 4 or 5 months ago,
Mhm.
it was just, those were just standard building permits, they weren't commercial. Commercial has a whole process of, registered letters and getting received,
Correct.
and copies.
I don't
So
think
this
there's-
is different from that to that extent.
Correct, but I don't think there is any requirement for notification for a house
No,
permit.
none at all. I
Right.
think that might be too onerous to have to put in there.
Right, because that means, we were talking about that, that means if somebody added a deck to their place or built a shed or anything, they had to notify, and that would be adding too much.
Right, yeah, because if you had a garage to your house,
Right,
we had to have a permit to do it. We know we tore it down part of it.
right, but you would have had, if we added a notice to a butters, then that would, anything you did on your property would be, but for a commercial application, I think it's fine to have a fee that the town charges in order to file the butters. We follow through on that.
Well, it's not even the town will even notify, according to site plan review or any DEP permits, it's up to the applicant to send those out and then
Correct, currently,
bring in proof that they've been
Right.
sent out.
Right.
So,
currently, but I would like to see it changed so the town does that. It's not on the applicant, but it's on the town to follow through with that. That's what we've been talking about. But were you thinking if there were any changes?
I was thinking some mechanism that if somebody calls in and says, hey, I'd like to be notified, there's a mechanism at the town office to notify that person. Dave, the question was just asked around whether the town could take on responsibility for neighbor notification as opposed to the applicant sending out registered letters. Is there a reason the town doesn't do that?
I mean, the applicant could certainly pay for it.
Right, the reason the town doesn't do that is because the ordinance says that the applicant will do that.
Okay, so there's not a legal reason the town can't do
No,
that if it changed.
like for subdivision, the ordinance says the town sends out the notices, we charge the applicant.
Yep.
And there's no reason that I'm aware of, that if the ordinance said town's gonna send out the notices, charge the applicant, or we just increase the fee enough to cover the. I mean, there is obviously some, for lack of a better word, administrative burden, but if we lose the question about whether the notices got sent.
Right. I think that would be the advantageous.
And then that can also be applied to any changes on the commercial site plan review, even a minor change. Notifications could potentially happen, which would erase some of the arguments that we had here.
We would do notices per the ordinance regardless of whether they were minor, major, whatever the ordinance says, we're gonna.
You can make that change.
Because right now, if it's a minor change, the planning board decides that, and notices, there's no mechanism that says you have to or you don't have to. It doesn't call for it. It doesn't call for it under the ordinance, so it doesn't get done. I suppose a legal ruling could come from a judge somewhere that says, I don't know, there might be other wording somewhere else in there about, the site plan review process.
But that's something Sally can help us with as far as wording, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
if this was something that the Board of Appeals thought was necessary and appropriate, if you made a recommendation to the select board to say, we think it's necessary and appropriate that the town sends out notices for these applications, and we don't know the mechanism behind it, but we think it ought to be done, then it puts them on notice
Okay.
that you all thought it should be done, and then they get to sit down and say, okay.
Sorry.
Sounds like mine. At that point, they'd have to figure out, do they want the town attorney to draft the language, they want some committee to draft the language, they want Frank to draft the language, whatever.
Yeah. So our take was that it'd be just the commercial site plan review, not for all applications townwide, but
No, for all for commercial applications. Whether they're major or minor, it doesn't matter.
And then things in the shoreline zone right now, do those have to have neighbor notifications?
You mean like if somebody's building a house or a
Yes.
deck or something?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think we provide notice on any I shouldn't say just building permit application, but things that don't go to the planning board for review. But a lot of the shoreline stuff goes to the planning board, those don't get noticed. I mean, they get put on an agenda, which is publicly available.
Neighbor notification.
But we don't, right, if you have a cottage on Norton Pond and you're building the deck, we don't tell your neighbors.
Yeah, so commercial site plan review and development,
Subdivision, definitely.
But the subdivision one's already in place, correct?
Right, subdivision, the town sends out the notices.
Yeah. So we don't need to tag on to that. What we're looking at is
But you could say,
commercial application.
right, you could say similarly to what, what's done for subdivision notice, where the town takes on the responsibility of the applicant's cost,
Okay.
Just something, because right now I'm going to suspect that the 5 select people, although they'll get a copy of this decision, they're just happy thinking things are going along smoothly, the Board of Appeals had a meeting and everything, nobody suggested we do anything different, so we're not going to. If you want to think something ought to be different, they might still choose not to make the change, but at least you can say, you do it.
Yeah. Or at the least, and even if that doesn't go through, I think one of the things that came up, I'm not criticizing Frank, but we've had both appellants, the last 2, have made comments that they asked Frank for information if anything was gonna happen, and then you never received notification. I know Frank's a lot on his plate. I don't know if there's a mechanism for the town to be able to put it down.
There really isn't. We've got 2,312 residents. And so if I come in and say, I'd like to be notified when Mike's doing something, when Andy's doing something, and Sarah Smith, I don't care about the rest of the people. How do you?
But notices
So for
that.
both of those people, my first take is, the unsaid part of that was they asked that question because they knew something was gonna happen.
Wow.
The only reason you call the code enforcement officer a month before an application is put in is they're gonna do something.
Well,
So it might be up to them to just keep calling every couple of weeks.
not to bring up a subject that, inflame the situation, but there were people surveying on a certain lot at the corner of Thurlow Road and Beach Road.
Right.
And people were calling us at the town office who were coming in saying, what's going on in the corner, we don't know. Oftentimes, we're the last people to know when somebody comes in with an application and says, here, I want to do this. And neighbors know because they're sitting home looking out over the field and they see surveyors out there and ribbons going up, and instead of going to ask their neighbor, they want to hear and say, what's going on? And until we get a piece of paper, we might get a phone call, but we might not, too.
But the thing is, though, don't the notices go into the paper? If anyone wanted to know if something was going on through the planning board, you can go onto the town site and take a look and see what the agenda is for the planning board meeting.
Yeah,
Can't you?
we don't advertise planning board meetings in the paper. There's certainly.
Right, but there is a site that.
Yeah, if you go on our site and you go to online services, no, not online, so e-notices, on the homepage or every page.
Yeah.
You can sign up to have select board agendas sent to you,
Yeah.
planning board agendas sent to you, town meeting warrants sent to you, emergency note, there's half a dozen different things that you can get notified via email from us.
And had Mr. Boach been receiving those notices, he would have seen a planning board meeting agenda with that on there? Do they get the full agenda?
Yeah, you get, it comes as what it does is we post the agenda online, and then we send basically an email to people saying, if you, Lincolnville Select Board meeting agenda for the next meeting, click here, and it takes you right to the site and
Okay, so-
pulls up the.
And that would be the same with the planning board.
Same with the planning board, same with town meeting warrants.
So that would be a perfect answer for Frank to say, go to the town website, there are notices that you can receive on the planning board agenda, that may take care of all of those. Then it's up to them to sign up for those notices, and if they don't want to get them,
Right.
how much more can we do for
I mean, some people obviously don't, believe it or not, some people don't want to do email, don't do email.
Right.
I mean, if you post, you've got your agenda or your notice posted on the bulletin board out here, now that's, you know, who's coming into the town office to read the bulletin board every week, I don't know, but it is, you know, there are avenues.
them?
Right.
And it's difficult because out of those 2,312 people, I don't know who's interested in what. That's why we have a standard process. And then if you're interested, you know, people have to take a little bit of responsibility for themselves, I guess, is the best way I can put it. My opinion. Others may feel differently. You know, we don't call you to tell you when your car registration's due. We might on your dog, but we don't on the car. But, you know, you gotta take a little responsibility. You gotta look at your license plate, look at your car registration, or have Joe, the police officer, pull you over and remind you, you need to come to the town office.
That's a lot different than in Massachusetts. I remember when I first moved here.
Yeah.
My registration had run out for probably a year and a half at least. When the guards at the houseboat was checking the cars and stuff, I said, no, your registration's fine.
I mean, we could. I mean, there's no reason. The only reason we can or we don't is because it takes somebody's time and somebody's money. If the townspeople show up at town meeting and say, we need to have our notices of, you know, a month ahead of when our cars are running out, we'll come up with how much time that takes and how much money that costs. Do you want it in the mail? Do you want email? Do you want phone? You know, what's the process you want? Here's what it'll cost.
But I think, just if it's on the website, people can get a copy of it.
Yeah.
If you don't do email, then you gotta start calling the town office once a week to find out if something happened.
Every other week's fine.
Okay.
Those agendas only come out every other week.
But there's already a method in place for people to become informed without Frank or somebody else having to call them back. So that aspect for me, there's an answer for that.
So
It's unfortunate we
now-
can't do a personal notice to everybody, but
Right.
that would be just.
So right now, what we're going to do is, write something for the, select board. correct?
Yeah, make a recommendation that the notice to butters should be generated by the town versus the applicant to change that ordinance. And to make it so that it's, even if I mean, it seems like on this last one, there's no physical obvious impact to anybody other than the applicant themselves, because there's an interior, I understand it's an interior change. But, you know, if for a commercial site, that needs to be done, then I don't know.
So it sounds like two different motions then. One motion would be around town office taking over sending notices. The other one would be that any change to a commercial site plan review would go to the
Well,
notification.
no, that's up for debate, I mean.
That is
But I'm saying that that's two different questions. So there's two different parts to that. One is this, one is this.
I don't know if it's two different parts. I don't know, in the
I think
process.
there's already one that is being done, and there's other one that's not.
So for a commercial permit, I assume that's what we're talking about. If somebody applies for a building permit for a commercial building, then it's considered, the planning board decides whether it's major or minor. And then unless it's a subdivision, currently the applicant has to send out notice. Is that correct?
If that's what the ordinance,
So, let me explain.
but they're supposed to provide us basically copies of the fact that they sent out the notices, but.
So for any commercial entity, that's going to commercial site plan review.
Mhm.
The building permit itself, the building structure isn't, that can be approved by the planning board,
Right.
but the site plan review process is what we're talking about here that gets the notification. That does, at this point, is in the applicant's hands to go out.
Right.
So that's never really been a problem. Nobody's ever said, I got receipt. So that's why I'm saying it's almost two different things we're saying. What really came up on this one is they're arguing that the minor ones should have received a notice too. So changing it from the applicant to the town is one issue. A second issue would be any change to the commercial site plan review, because they did their notices in 2013 as a part of the original site plan review. In 2021, they made what the planning board deemed to be a minor change that didn't need re-notification and approved the 32 by 32 building.
Okay.
Then in 2023, approved the apartment up above, again, a minor change, no notification. So I'm hearing two different things. One is going from going from the applicant to the town to do notices. The other one is to require all site plan changes, minor or major, to go by the original of notifications. So that's what I'm saying, there's two different topics we're talking about.
Well, you can rewrite the ordinance to just include both and say that the town, it will be done for the town. So it can be written all as one. It doesn't have to be, can be looked at as two separate, but it can be done as one piece.
Land use committee will look at it as two different ones. That's why I guess I'm saying like that.
You would?
Again, you're making, to me, the notification by the town, we're making a change that may not necessarily have to be changed. The other one, going from minor to any change, major or minor, that's adding wording in two different locations of our ordinances. One is changing the change process to include the language of every change gets noticed. The other one is going back to the first pages of that and saying it's now going to be the town doing that. I'm not sure we have to fix that, because we've never had a problem with people doing it. It's more the notification of the minor changes.
We don't know as whether or not we've had any problems about the notice. Nobody's just never filed an appeal that's come to you.
Correct.
Yeah, so I just assume, I mean, personally, I think, just take that off the table, just make it the town, they pay a fee for that, and it's done. So it doesn't, something that doesn't come up, but
It just needs to be,
Yeah,
before the select board,
yeah,
let them decide.
right, why wait until, just take care of that? Because there was some controversy on that, like, well, who, did we get all the certified notices? I mean, it has come up. But whether it's been the main topic that's not my problem. So,
And the other part is, we're finding with a lot of the certifieds that we're required by law to send and tax notices. I would say rarely, but we don't get back a lot of the return receipts that we request, whether people aren't picking up their mail, refuse it. Well, if it's refused, it comes back to us as a refuse, but I mean, pick on the postal service, but sometimes they drop off our mail here. People have sent us certified mail. It's still got a little green card on the back that we're supposed to sign, rip off, and mail back. The postman's supposed to wait for that, and they don't.
They don't very often, no.
And
Not anymore.
I mean, we keep the receipts of when we actually mail them.
Right.
I mean, now, with tax notices, we send them out certified and we follow it up with a first-class mail.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it just gives us one more thing to say when we go there, if we end up in court.
Right.
We sent them this, we did this. They had a law case somewhere in the United States that somebody argued that they didn't get notice and
We've had a little bit of problems like that every once in a while in the county.
the court said,
We
what
do
effort,
the same thing.
basically, what efforts did you do beyond the minimum required by the law? And people were like, well, nothing, you follow the law, and they said, well, you should have tried.
Right.
I mean, I've been known to, I hate to say this, go knock on the door and say, did you get this notice? Because that's, we're getting sidetracked, but that's a pretty heavy-handed government.
Yep.
And there's a lot of work beyond, that goes on behind the scenes, and I'd much rather have somebody pay the taxes. Be done, you know? We don't want your property, we just want your money. Sorry.
Right, so I think it's pretty well decided.
So-
Do you want me to make a motion?
Somebody's gonna make a motion. Oh, we go out, Barbara? Got a hand up.
You're muted, Barbara.
We can't hear you.
We heard that.
Yeah.
I believe, do you want me to translate, oh frig?
Can you move the microphones closer? I'm having a hard time understanding Terry and Betty.
Everybody likes to move away from them.
There we go.
Much better. Thank you.
Was the motion then?
So we're talking about doing a motion to change the ordinance to have the town be responsible for sending out notices to abutters and not have the applicant responsible for that,
Commercial site plan.
for commercial
Review.
site plans.
Is there a second?
Now second that.
All those in favor? Okay.
You're gonna take a roll call vote, because Barbara's participating.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Barbara, are you in favor?
Yes,
And, yeah.
Should I have done a roll call for,
You should have.
do you want us to go backwards and do
We'll
that?
finish this one first.
Okay.
You might want to take a roll call.
Mike, are you in favor?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm in favor too, so, okay. Second part of that then is that notices also go out for minor changes to commercial site plan review. Is there a motion on that? What is that? Not an issue. I can't make a motion, I'm chair.
For all minor changes
For all-
To the commercial site plan
to
review.
the commercial side.
I'll make that motion if I don't have to repeat it.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Barbara, are you in favor of it?
Yes,
Mike?
You want to discuss a little more?
Explain exactly what the motion is.
So it would be that notices also go out for any changes to commercial site plan applications. So like this one, they're claiming they weren't notified.
It was a change,
Because
change of use.
The way it is now, the planning board reads that they don't have to notify anybody on minor changes.
I'm in favor, yeah.
Terry?
Yes.
Betty? Me? Yes. So 5-0 on that one. We're now gonna go backwards to the first item. If anybody, we didn't do a roll call vote, so, the actual notice of administrative appeal.
I think I made that motion, didn't
So Betty made a motion to accept it.
I
Terry
second.
seconded it. All those in favor, Barbara?
yes.
Mike?
Yep.
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Betty?
you? Yes.
Andy? Yes. Just in case somebody said there wasn't a roll call vote.
I'm sorry I didn't flag that way the first time. I didn't think of it.
So I'm gonna move that we adjourn.
I second that.
Anybody opposed? Go ahead and do a roll call vote on this.
Yes.
Barbara, are you in favor?
Yes,
Mike, you in
Yep.
favor?
Yep.
Terry, you in favor?
Yes.
Betty, you in
Yes.
favor? Andy? No, I'm opposed. But I lose 4-1.
Bye, Barbara, thank you.